When you get married, love is sort of just a concept, very unified in a fantasy, in a Disney-like fantasy. You know, when you get married, you think, well, this is my knight in shining armor. Well, this is who's going to kiss Cinderella every morning. Well, he's going to be my everything. Well, he's going to provide not only the intellectual connection, the emotional connection, the financial security, and it really wasn't working out like that.
Well, if you're really not feeling loved and you're in a kind of crisis disconnecting phase in your marriage, then by all means, read the 5 Love Languages book and employ the idea. But from my perspective, that is just like kindergarten and early elementary school, because coming to you hot from Ghana, not me, but my incredible guest, Kenya K. Stevens. Wow, it's kind of fascinating to think about how I would introduce you, because the thing I really want to lead off with is you are my friend whom I admire and enjoy. And every time we have a conversation, it's like, yes, the sparks fly, but the thing that really strikes me more is how we go into the root system, and like the depths open, not because we fall in, but because we both are drawn to the deeper nature of what shows up in a very compelling, kind of interesting manner, but it's what's happening underneath that really is so rich, mysterious, fun to clarify. And I think that is your approach to relationships and mine, even though we come from such different paths. Before I actually welcome you and we hear your voice, let me just say that Kenya K. Stevens is a relationship expert, love coach, many times best-selling author, wife, and mother of 3. And I think the thing that I also want to add is you have a really extraordinary talent for taking complex, dynamic, sometimes chaotic, intriguing subject matter and codifying it without losing any of that amazing energetics. Like when you touch things, they become intelligent and organized and comprehensible to our minds without dehydrating them at all. So with that, welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, Kenya.
I love you, Alexandra. I'm so excited to be here. This is extraordinary because you're extraordinary and we have really wonderful conversations. Thank you for having me.
Where do you normally live and what has brought you to Ghana?
Well, I travel 6 months out of the year, every year. Last year, it was a Bali fixation for 4 months. I was in Bali. This year, it's an Africa fixation. So mostly, however, I live in Houston, Texas, with my family, my children, my husband, and I just enjoy travel as well. So I split my year.
So anything else that you want to presence before we dive in? You know what? I didn't mention, because it wasn't in the bio, that you're also a TV superstar.
Yes, I am. Consequently, I am. I really I shared with you earlier that I don't have a PR or agent or anything like that. People contact me, television contacts me, and I've been on 350 podcasts and 11 television spots, including my own series on TLC. So it's just one of those things. Show up, bring the energy, and people will be drawn to that. And I think that's what I've done for the past 18 years as a love coach, a love shaman.
I'll speak from my own experience. What you just said is definitely what you do in our friendship. You do it in your social media, in your coaching, and in your television appearances and beyond. Is that also what you would say you've done from the get-go in your marriage? Is show up with the energy and bring it?
I feel so because, well, I've been married for 30 years, and I feel like when I was looking for a partner, that was my modality. I just was going to show up in the earth and see the biggest energy that would be drawn to mine. And I've got one of the most beautiful humans on the planet who became my husband, and we've had 3 children together. But I think the showmanship of showing up has to be learned. My mother owned the largest dance school in Michigan. So I had to show up on that stage as the teacher's daughter. There's 1,000 girls And she said, you have to speak as if you're speaking to somebody in the back of this room, honey. And my mother was brilliant. She was actually the first African-American cheerleader at the University of Michigan. She integrated that cheer team and she went on to have a dance school. And of course, I grew up there for 18 years with her.
Okay, that makes so much sense, except, like, I'm a yes to all of that. You are really authentic. And yet you learned how to show up and perform in more of a performance context. Like, that's what I'm hearing in what you've just said. It never feels performative with you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so glad. I think the performance that we are learning when we learn to show up is pushing energy. And if you're pushing energy, you can push whatever you want. My mother didn't encourage pushing an energy that wasn't real. She said, own it. Get into what you feel and move it out into the world. And so I don't know, that was probably a lesson in authenticity, because if you didn't feel well someday, she wouldn't want you to fight that. She wants you to be in pain and show the pain, be in pleasure and show the pleasure. That was her theory on dance.
And so you've taken dance into the entirety of your life.
Honey, yes. Aren't we all dancing? Aren't we all...
Well, some of us are a little stiff. Let's be real. That's why you need to do the work you do and I need to do the work I do. So let's transition into how you actually bring the richness and authenticity you've just described, specifically when it comes to expressions of love. We talked before recording that we were going to discuss this, and I have no idea where we're going, but I know it's going to be good. So would you please talk to us about the expressions of love?
Absolutely. My husband and I have written 12 books together, and one of them is called The 9 Expressions of Love. And I really did not know about these expressions of love when I got married. When you get married, love is sort of just a concept, very unified in a fantasy, in a Disney-like fantasy. You know, when you get married, you think, well, this is my knight in shining armor. Well, this is who's going to kiss Cinderella every morning. Well, he's going to be my everything. Well, he's going to provide not only the intellectual connection, the emotional connection, the financial security, everything. And that's really what we learned. And so when I learned and I discovered, and really what I did, Alexandra, I need to be honest with you, is I downloaded a lot of the information in our books from what I call my ancestors. So when I downloaded the 9 Expressions of Love and my husband helped me write it, it was just learning the expansiveness that we need in terms of love and how it cannot be encapsulated into a fantasy. So that was something that I went through, and I had to grow, because I really did expect my husband to be all the things. And it really wasn't working out like that. And that hurt. That was painful. Alexandra.
Yes.
The 9 Expressions of Love helps us to look at love in vis-a-vis archetypes. You know, if you're looking at 9 major archetypes in every pantheon across the universe, whether it's Roman, Greek, Egyptian, Kemetic, you know, even the Kabbalah. And remember that story I told you about discovering my ancestral roots vis-a-vis Jewish culture? This was a foundational premise that is lying underneath the 9 Expressions of Love. The Kabbalah, the 9 basic archetypes in the universe, that we're all looking for love of each of the 9 archetypes.
Before we proceed further, would you define the word archetype, please?
An archetype is a category of energy. A lot of people think of archetypes as deities or gods and goddesses. No, these are ways that ancient people categorized energy. The sun, it has a whole spectrum of energy, a color, a vibration, a sound, foods that do best under the sun, a time of day. High noon is the time of the sun. So we take all of those components and we say, this is the archetype of the sun. The moon has components, the ocean, you know, the tides, women, birthing, You understand? Certain foods, vibrations, sounds, the color blue. And we categorize those as energy of an archetype. So the 9 archetypes can literally take everything on the planet and put it into 9 categories. That's it.
Okay, I really enjoy your definition. So archetypes is something that I sometimes teach my clients about, but it's not as earth-based or even really as spiritually based as what you're describing. When I talk about the archetypes, I refer to kind of ways of being, potential roles, king, queen, jester, maverick, victim, bully, wanderer. Like, they're different ways of being, which I think I'm using that phrase in the same way that you talked about types of energy. And really, I just want to anchor it in that there's a way in which we can sometimes feel kind of on a few channels. Like, we just have our personality. We tend to hear certain things and laugh. We tend to hear certain things and cry. And that we can really expand the range of our humanity. And archetypes are sometimes helpful to kind of imagine other ways of being than the way we've already adopted, particularly in relation to our partners. So this is kind of broad scope, but let's go ahead and move into the 9 archetypes.
No, I love that you describe the fact that these archetypes can expand us. Like the archetypes, you could think of them as the signs of the zodiac. And when you identify with one sign, then you're missing out on all these other 8 archetypes, or 12 in terms of the zodiac. And so what we're really here on earth to do, which is what I believe, is to really expand and be able to access all the archetypes, because we're made up of all of them.
Well, I think that this plays out when it comes to the 5 love languages, which are super familiar to people, that the idea that, oh, you know, my love language is words of affirmation, so I need someone to give me words of affirmation in order to feel loved. Well, if you're really not feeling loved and you're in a kind of crisis disconnecting phase in your marriage, then by all means, you know, read the 5 love languages book and employ the idea. But from my perspective, that is just like kindergarten and early elementary school, because really the goal is that, as I say, we expand our humanity and I can receive and give love in all the different ways. Yes, words of affirmation, gifts, and so forth, but there are also additional ways. And why do I need it to come? If what's coming my way is love, why do I need it packaged in particular wrapping paper? If I do, no problem, but let me try to expand.
I love that. The deletion of expansion is, I guess, for convenience sake. However, it doesn't serve us because we're on earth to expand. So there's no way to cap it and say, well, if you just give me this love language, I'll be okay, because you won't. And because the expansion is going to push us. Evolution always pushes us into our next iteration of self. That's the entire point of being alive in the earth school. Some believe. I believe that.
Awesome. So let's take all of this and talk about the 9 expressions of love. Take us.
The 9 expressions of love is so potent because, again, I wanted them all from my husband. You mentioned, for instance, the victim, and there's a queen. So let's say a queen is a mother in an archetypal system. Well, the opposite of the queen would be the victim, the martyr. So that's one archetype. So when we look at archetypes, there's also looking at a duality or a positive and negative pole of each. So with our archetypes and our 9 expressions, we found that when we want these positive 9, we're also being delivered or living in the negative 9, which are the same. And so we can literally transmute upward. But anyways, that being neither here nor there, with the 9 archetypes, we've supported our clients in helping them to understand what their marriage provides and what their marriage does not currently provide. Then they can make choices adding archetypes to the marriage. So we have 3 feminine archetypes, which is the devotee, the conservationist, and the lover. So everybody knows whore as lover. Everybody knows mother as devotee. But not a lot of people know crone, the conservationist, the deep, dark feminine, which is an elder woman. So those are our three feminines. Then our three masculines are leader, warrior, and negotiator. So we all love the negotiator. He's the one who could talk your panties off. He's got the gift of gab, that type of negotiator. Then the leader, he's kingly, he's royal, he's responsible, he's present with you. And then the warrior, of course, is physicality, that masculine brawn, chest beating, I got you, and I'm have sexual prowess. So those three masculine archetypes, then the three feminines, and we have three androgynous because we do not do duality. Okay. And spectrum of gender. We don't believe in two genders. That is totally a Western concept for us. So the androgynous deities are monk, visionary, and peacekeeper. When you think of monk, you think of intuition, knowing rather than having wisdom, right? And then we have the visionary, which can envision new heights, totally optimistic, totally trusting, and the peacekeeper, knowing how to handle the debates between all of those archetypes, right? He's right there in the middle.
Okay, so let's say I'm a wife. Is it my responsibility to, in the most full, abundant marriage, to personally express all nine? Or is it my responsibility to really develop the feminine ones? Is this energy that lives between us? Can you get a little granular for me?
Yes, the dance of these archetypes is the cause of divorce, actually. When we believe that if we have female genitalia, that we're only supposed to express the feminine archetypes. The feminine archetypes are here in your right brain. The masculine archetypes are in your left brain. And then the corpus callosum, which makes those two sides talk, is your androgynous. So everybody has all nine.
On my path of growth, I might be looking to enhance any one of them, but when I have access to expressing all nine, and my husband does too,
it could be beautiful. But what my ancestors have told me, and this is very true for all indigenous cultures, is that we need community. Couples and nuclear family is an interesting concept that hasn't worked in totality. We actually need community. And I think you know that from your community. If I'm in a marriage, typically there's one set of archetypes that are alive. If I need more of the archetypes, I need to build community around me. Grandparents, children, friends, associates, work friends. Because that provides, like, for instance, my husband, he hates to play chess, right? That's a monk activity. Very monk and visionary to play chess. I have to find a monk and visionary connection in my community to play chess. And so I can't say, you have to play chess. You have to get into monk. I need the monk archetype. No, go find the monk archetype. It's like squeezing water from a lemon, and that's squeezing water from a rock. And that's what I was trying to do in my marriage for many years, the first 10 years at least. Well, that's the first thing that I learned when I realized that all of these nine, we call them the divine nine, all of these nine are not in any relationship. Why? Because humans are a communal species. If all nine could be found in one person and you could center in and get all your needs met, you would not be sustainable as a human. Why? Because you do not have claws and fangs. And so in order to survive amongst animals in the wilderness for the past 280,000 years, we have utilized community to do that. So our default is community. Thus, natural selection wouldn't have it that one human could fulfill all of our needs because we would perish.
Okay, so help me go from this to what you call divorce proofing a marriage.
Absolutely. That's how we divorce proof marriages. We take couples into community. Couples to learn how to build community. And it's not just like, well, let's have a friends group. It's really looking at your marriage and see which archetypes are highlighted and natural and glowing and smooth. And now the ones that are not present in the marriage so much, building in communities, activations, friendships, clubs, groups, outings that fulfill those other 9, because every human wants the divine 9, love in all 9 of those spaces.
It sounds like you're talking about wholeness.
You said it. It's a holistic approach to relating. Whereas what you talked about, the love languages say, well, I don't know what the love languages say, but they say, well, they need to do your language. What if they've never done your language? You didn't even fall in love with them because they did your language. Why are you loving this person? Hone in on that and get the other things in community. Why not?
Okay, so if I summarize this innovative approach, that the way to divorce-proof the marriage is to kind of turn to community for needs to be met that are not met within the marriage, like where in that can I ask my husband to show up differently? Where in that do I grow, or does the growth come through the needs being met in the community? And so divorce proofing, which sounds so intense and unpleasant, even if you like the outcome, actually is a fairly pleasurable endeavor in the way that you're describing it.
Oh, divorce proofing is blissful.
Okay, so the main thing I'm thinking is obviously calling it divorce proofing is smart, but there's no marriage for which this isn't relevant.
Absolutely. You can divorce proof your community. You can divorce proof your family. Families divorce. Communities divorce. We divorce our parents all the time. Well, they're a narcissist. Well, they did this. Well, they're not doing this. Well, why aren't you getting that from somewhere else? And what is wrong? What can you see the capacity they have? And can you honor what they do give? Or is it what they're not giving what you're focused on? And if that's the case, then that's what you're focused on within as well. You have an inner critic that's out of control and you haven't checked it. That's okay. We have work for that as well. But what is the person able to deliver? And can that be seen as valuable?
Okay, so you're talking about self-awareness and a really deep acceptance of others. So you set yourself up not to be disappointed that people can't be different than they are, while not subjugating your own needs, but finding other ways to actually get them met. So I feel like I have clients, or have had clients, who would say, okay, so if I'm going to turn to the community to feel whole, why bother with the marriage anyway? And it's more of a conceptual question, but I have literally been asked this when I talk about sovereignty and independence, which when I talk to someone about taking responsibility for how they feel and how they move through their life and how they communicate, like really being sovereign and taking responsibility and cultivating an artful independence as a way of breaking free of codependence, then when I first introduce that concept, the response often is, okay, but then why, sure, there's sex and, you don't need another person for that, but with another person, that's quite pleasurable. But, other than the physical connection, where does marriage actually fit in? If we can turn to the community for wholeness.
I think that Western cultures have a concern with both and-ness. And the concept, when I say Western cultures, I mean basically led by the big 3 religions, okay? They are patriarchal religions, clearly. And they're thinking from that left brain, the masculine archetypes, which is fine. But without integrating the feminine and the both and-ness, and then even the androgyny of humanness, it's hard to understand that 10,000 years ago is when Western marriage began. But humans are 280,000 years old as a species. So what were we doing? The concept of partnering was never to hold this person and force them to fulfill all your needs. The concept of partnering had to do with counting. We're counting our community. We're ensuring that your partner, so we know where you are at all times, because this person is responsible for
like
knowing,
the buddy system,
witnessing you. Yeah, the buddy system. That's all it was in terms of partnership. Never did these ideas come in that, well, this person, now you can't get any of your emotional needs met. That's emotional cheating or emotional, like the entire community was emotionally bonded and connected until the concept of big three, religion, bringing in marriage as ownership. But community is just as important as counting and witnessing and keeping up with and witnessing one person. You can do that, and you can have experience in the community that brings wholeness to your life. How are we having married people who cannot have friends? What then is marriage? It becomes more like a sentence than a experience of sharing life with someone. So that's very important, clearly, for divorce-proofing marriages. A lot of marriages feel like they are isolated. It's an isolating concept. And why do that? We don't have to. We everything that we have created as humans connect us. So why would marriage disconnect us from community? It doesn't make sense to me. And so that's what I support my couples in understanding and providing clear protocols on and guidance and purposeful connecting with the community.
So if somebody wants more community than they have, what's the first step?
If you want more community than you have, then the only thing you don't have is internal permission to create more community. So I think the first step, and what I really offer, really free of charge every single day, is permission. Like, we have to give ourselves permission to want more. A lot of people don't like my concept on attention. Humans need attention and acknowledgement to survive. We don't learn that. And literally what we learn is its antithesis. Our parents tell us, oh, you just climb for because you want attention. Oh, you want attention. Yes, we do, ma'am and sir. So internal permission. I have this fresh attention concept. It's actually a t-shirt. Fresh attention. Give me some fresh attention. That's me going out, looking cute, having other people comment about me, feeling my magnetism. Both men and women need that. Having different conversations with people, fresh attention, fresh outlooks. You and I, Alexandra, we offer one another fresh attention.
That's right. We're having new conversations.
That's growth. That's what humans need. That's the attention. That's the acknowledgement. That's the test of magnetism, the test of electricity, the test of aliveness. And you don't have to take it to this extreme. You can actually give yourself permission to have bits of that every day. And it shouldn't negate your marriage. How would it? Why would it? You come home refreshed. After a conversation with you and I tell my husband, "Dang, guess what happened today?" I'm all energized and tingly. I've added something to my marriage. I've subtracted nothing. It's not disloyal. And so you see how that's just a little step, permission. I would say that.
I really love it. And I think I naturally offer and gladly receive fresh attention, but I never named it like that because I really like interacting with the people at the checkout counter in the grocery store. Anytime there's another human being, are we going to become best friends? No. Do we have much in common? Are we going to see one another again? Probably not. But I love engaging in that way. I'm a pretty grounded person. As long as I leave my home, it's fairly inevitable.
And you have given yourself that permission, and you understand you like that and enjoy that.
I didn't used to do that, but I like how it feels.
Why didn't you used to do it?
I was less oriented to the promise in every moment. But it's common to talk about being present, but that can mean so many different things in so many different ways. And I think I actually even developed this. It's interesting. When my children were young, I have 4 children, and I had a considerable stretch of being a stay-at-home mom with my husband working long hours. And I think I literally was hungry. It's exactly what you're describing. Like, I literally was hungry for fresh attention, human connection, interactions that weren't predictable. Yeah, my husband was definitely, he was working long hours and he wasn't available for a kind of sort of variety and spontaneity. And so I think I used my grocery shopping as an opportunity to nourish my soul. And I don't even remember any particular interaction. It wasn't some like deep earth shattering experience. But yeah, I came back ready to engage with the people I love, whom I live with more vitality. It's exactly what you're saying.
It's beautiful. I did the same thing when I had children. I have 3 children. They're in their 20s now, but I would go to the spa, the Korean spa. And the Korean spa, you could be naked around other women. You go into the side where there's women and the women are nude, and the conversations and just hearing and seeing other women be pampered and pampering themselves and conversating. This was an entirely fresh new life that I had when I left that spa every time. So community, again, community. And the other thing that you mentioned was this concept of, on the spectrum of human needs, we need stability and variety. We need commitment and freedom. We need predictability and completely new experiences that are, so how do you satisfy that? That's how you divorce proof a marriage. And setting up the permissions and the parameters and the communication necessary and all of the things. It takes me 12 weeks to do it with my clients, but once they're done, they're a different type of human with the permissions in place. Yeah.
And the lucky people in their communities who then benefit as well.
Child. Yes.
Okay. Amazing. Anything else you want to say? How can people find the link for divorce proving your marriage? It'll all be in the show notes, but it's different to hear you say it.
Well, I'm at progressiveloveacademy.com, and that's where all of my programs and offerings are run from, or Progressive Love Academy on Instagram.
And your Instagram is so fun to follow. Like, you're in my feed every day because it's so, yeah, it adds juice. If I'm going to scroll, I want to scroll you, baby.
Yes. Awesome. Scroll me. Give me some fresh attention.
Exactly. Just enjoy it more.
Love that.
All right. Well, thank you, Kenya. Any words as we complete?
No, I'm just excited to be able to share these concepts. They are indigenous concepts, and I love that they're being rebirthed through our modern society. And I just hope that a lot of people can benefit. And of course, grab the books and just get on your way. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.